Hey folks, welcome back. This is Robbins Racing. I'm Rodney. So we're going to do episode 2 this morning. What we're going to talk about starting off is setting your camber link and your toe link on your RC cars. So what we've got here, we've got the Losi 22X4 TLR buggy kit. We're going to be using the Horizon Hobby Durtrax Pit Tech truck stand as well today in the show. So first thing we're going to do, we've got this buggy put together, but our camber and our toe link is way off. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust those things out. When I talk about camber, what I'm talking about is how level your wheels are. When I talk about toe, I'm talking about them being pitched in and out. So how you adjust that, the top bar is your camber adjustment. That's what's going to push your wheels out or in. And your toe link, which is also what your steering works with, that's what tows your wheels straight or out of line. So most RC cars come straight out of the factory with about a 2 to 3 degree offset on your rear wheels, and they do that on purpose because on dirt you get a better bike that way. However, if you're drag racing, you want your wheels to be perfectly in line and you want it to be perfectly level because that's going to affect your car's ability to go straight. So we're going to leave our back cambered 2 degrees on this car. This is really it's meant to be an off-road dirt car. However, if you see, what I use is I like to use a long ruler. And what I'll do is I'll line up my ruler with my back wheel and my front wheel. Because basically what I'm doing is squaring the car off. And of course, like I said, my back's off by a few degrees and I'm okay with that. This side is fairly close. So if we come over to the other side, if you notice, my toe is way off on this one. So we're going to start with our toe first. The way you adjust that is just literally using, on this particular car, we're using a 4.0 millimeter wrench. Some of them, the larger ones will be a 5.5. Now, these toe links are reverse threaded on one side and then they have the correct thread on the other. So when you turn the center of this bar, it pushes out on both ends of your connector rods. So if you notice, as I'm turning this, it makes very, very slow, gradual movements. So it takes a lot to bring that back out. Now, if you notice, it seems to be going further in. So what I think is I'm going the wrong way with this. So we're going to bring it back the other way and see if that gets us closer to where we want to be. Now it may be hard to see in that video, but I can see it sitting here that wheel is actually moving the direction I want it to go. Now we're getting closer. We're just going to keep going until we get it right where we want it. Almost there. Okay, we are really close. A little bit more. Now then, you notice our wheel is straight on this side. We've still got that little bit of camber, but we're okay with that. Come back to the other side. And again, same thing. Our wheel's perfectly in line, and we've got that small amount of camber on the back. So our front wheels are lined up straight with our rear wheels at this point. Using something that's got a long straight edge gives you a good view of what you're doing because you can see those changes a lot more predominantly than if you're not. Okay, so that's how you set your camber link, or I'm sorry, your toe link. And again, that's your lower bars. Your camber link, which is your pitch in and out on your wheels, so these are your toe links, these are your camber links. On the rear, you just have camber links. You don't have toe links. The way the towing works on most of these buggies, there's inserts that goes into the pins, and that sets your degrees of offset. So we're not going to get into that today, but we're just going to talk about your camber link. So again, your top links are your camber links. So now, the way I check this is I'll take a square, or in this case, I'm going to use my ruler. And if I set it down flat on the table, you see this large gap in here? What we want to do is we want to fill that gap. That's going to get our wheel straight up and down. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to just adjust this top camber link bar. believe that's bringing it in, so let's take it the other direction. So when I build these kits, typically what I'll do is I'll put these toe links all the way to the end of the threads, and then once I get the car put together, I'll come back out here and adjust them out the way I want them to get my camber and toe link correct. So I made several turns on it. As you can see, we're a lot closer than what we were when we started. So we're going to bring a few more turns out. Now I like doing this with a set of wheels that does not have tires on them, and the reason for that is because the wheel will set flat. Now if you see right there, we're pretty much spot on at this point. There's a little bit of a gap in there. I could adjust it just slightly more to take that gap out. Probably one more turn should get us there. Now then, all right, see, now we're square. Our wheel is nice and square. We're still lined up with our towing. Yep. So that wheel is good to go. Now, whenever you adjust either your camber or your toe, you want to come back and you want to check it again, and just keep doing that until everything is squared up. That your toe is square and your camber is square, and that's how you set your camber link on your car. That's all there is to it. All right, folks. So we're back. What we're going to talk about now is going to be setting your gear mesh on your RC cars. A lot of people question, how do you do that? How do you get your gears from being too tight to where you chip off teeth, or too loose where you knock teeth off, right? And very, very important that you get your gear mesh set just right. So what we've got here, we've got the Arma Infraction. This is my personal one, so this isn't the way they look stock, but I want to show you guys how you set that gear mesh. When your gear mesh is set up just right, your car should move real free, right? If your car's not moving free, then you've got something bound up in your drive system. Now in this particular case, I have very, very stiff differentials in this car, but as you can see, it moves freely. That's what you're looking for. Here's how this works. So you've got your pinion gear, which is your gear on your motor, and then that meshes up to your spur gear, which is going to be on your transmission. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you guys what you're looking for. We'll loosen my motor up here. Okay, so if I got too much play in my gears, I can wiggle that gear right there. As you can see, it's too loose. It's hard to see in the video, but if you take a flashlight and I look at those gears down in there, I can see that my teeth are just barely touching, right? See that play in there? That's what I don't want. I want those gears to be in there where they're nice and snug. They're in there really, the teeth are in there good together, but it's not so tight that it's actually going to stop the car from rolling. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you guys what a bad gear mesh looks like. So I'm going to bring that motor way in, tighten that gear down. Now, as you can see, the car don't want to roll, right? Because it's having to turn the motor to do that. That's too tight. That's not what you're looking for. So if you're doing this by feel, the way I do it by feel is I'll slide my gears together, but I'm not pushing hard. I'm just slide it right into place. Tighten it down. Now I should have that free roll. That's still a little tight, so I'm gonna back it off just a hair. There we go. That's what I'm looking for, right? That free roll, just like that. Now, there's a trick to doing this. If you're not comfortable doing this by feel, here's how you need to do it. Take you a piece of very thin paper. Tear it off into a real small strip, like I'm doing here. Okay, take that piece of paper. Let me loosen this up where we can move it. And what you're going to do with that piece of paper is you're going to run it down between your pinion gear and your spur gear into the teeth. So if you can see what I've done there, I've got that piece of paper into the teeth right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my gear together, holding it with my finger. and I'm going to tighten my motor down. Now that I've got that in place, I simply just spin my piece of paper out of the way. Voila, my gear mesh is set. So that's how you set the gear mesh on a 4-wheel drive. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up now and show you guys how to set the gear mesh on a 2-wheel drive. What we're going to do now is we're going to set the gear mesh on a 2-wheel drive. So what we're going to use, we're using the Axe monster truck, which is made by ECX, and these are distributed by Horizon Hobby. So it's got a nice cool little fire truck body on there. These cars are more of your entry-level type cars. These aren't your high-end racing, you know, cars. These are a lot of what we offer for kids and people that are just getting started in the RC hobby, because they're actually very simple. So to get to the point of what we're going to do, you notice I'm using my car stand here. We need to remove this cover off the back of the 2-wheel drive. Now, whether you have a Traxxas, a Losi, a ECX, whatever brand, pretty much they're all set up the same way on your 2-wheel drives. You got a rear-mounted motor, and your gears are going to be covered by a cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off my rear wheel on that side. Ain't that size. In a little plastic container or something to hold all your screws in. This way you don't lose stuff. Okay, so we've got our wheel off. Now we're going to take our cover off so we can access our gears. These are going to be probably a 1.5 millimeter. Yep. Really simple. Now, some of these cars actually have an access point here, and what that is for, all that's for is adjusting your clutch. That's something we'll talk a little bit about in another video. But to get the cover off, we just take off the screws that are along the outside edges of the case. Some of these will have just 2 screws. In the case of this car, it's got 3. Okay, now then, there is our pinion gear and our spur gear. Turn this around, you guys can see it. So spur gear, pinion gear on your motor. So what we want to do on this one, we're talking about how to set that gear mesh. So turn it back around this way where I can see it. These 2 screws that are down here, these are the 2 screws that hold your motor on. Basically, the top one is fixed, it doesn't move, and the bottom one down here, it actually has a groove that screw can slide in, and what that does is it allows you to adjust that gear mesh. So what I'm going to do, I just need to loosen up my top screw and loosen up my bottom. Now what that allows me to do, now I can move my gear. Now here's the thing, this spur gear that's on here is about the biggest one you can put on one of these cars. A bigger spur gear and a smaller pinion gives you more torque. Being that this is a monster truck, this is the way they come out of the factory. So this is almost the smallest pinion that you'd be able to put on this car. Or I'm sorry, the largest pinion you'd be able to put on this car. You might. Alright, so what we're going to do is we want to set that gear mesh in between these 2 teeth. Now, you can do the same thing we did on the other one where you do it by feel, which is great if you're good enough to do that and confident doing it. Or the little paper trick we did earlier. So what I'm going to do, this might be a better view for you, is I'm going to run my piece of paper down here between those 2 gears, just like that. And then simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my gear up into my pinion gear into my spur gear, and I'm going to tighten down my adjustable screw. Okay? You want to get it good and tight where it won't move. Now then, pull that paper out of the way. Don't forget to retighten your top screw. There you go. So there's no play in that gear, but it still moves freely. That's all there is to it. Alright, so thank you guys for watching our videos, and we'll have more to come.